Unlike a company that consumes all of their own product immediately and in perpetuity, like Walt Disney does with Disney Plus, there's actually still good money to potentially be made on films like this from studios that don't use the Disney model. Paramount is one of those, especially with properties like this that are not in-house Paramount productions per se. Paramount, again, is the distributor here. It's like Avatar with Disney. That's a distribution deal. So this movie's got a high hurdle. And look, if it bombs in theaters, we're going to call it out for what it is. Renegade Online. Let's look at this. This is from Exhibitor Relations. And I will tell you, Exhibitor Relations is one of my favorite box office follows that I have over on X. They do a great job of reporting all the data pretty early in the day, usually a lot earlier than even the numbers gets it before they update their website at least. And it is what it is. And I'm not terribly surprised. Exhibitor Relations says that Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning reportedly cost between $300 and $400 million. Now, I'm sure they sourced that from somewhere, plus at least $100 million in marketing. Both of those figures to me sound pretty much on the money, right? That sounds extremely reasonable for a movie like this for all the reasons I mentioned previously. Paramount Plus subscriptions aren't going to cover that spend. No, probably not. All those involved better hope this goes off like no other Mission Impossible film ever has. Now, he's right in large degree. So if you look at this purely from a make money at the box office perspective, let's put this into a reality check here. $300 to $400 million. Now, that's a hell of a range. I mean, that's the difference between I need $1 billion at the box office, and I might need closer to $800 million at the box office if I'm going to break even there, right? So that's $200 million a stretch. I think that $300 million, probably closer to the $300 million side. We don't know if that is gross. We don't know if that's net of film tax credits. They sure filmed in a lot of different international territories and countries. So most of those countries have some type of film tax credit for when you show up in their country and you spend money to hire local labor. So, for example, they love shooting in Norway. They shot a lot in Norway towards the northern end this time in all the ice and everything else to get some of the scenes that they needed. Watch some of the behind-the-scenes footage of this, just like they did before with the motorcycle jump in the last one. That was in Norway. Norway, probably has some type of film tax credit to where, hey, if you spend $20 million hiring local Norwegian labor, sound stages, caterers, spending money on hotels in Norway to put up your crew, they give you a tax credit for coming in and doing that. So let's just say for a second it splits, right? Let's say it's $350 million. $350 million, and that's after film tax credits. Let's get real wild with this. After film tax credits, $350 million. That would be significant. The last one with all the COVID delays, I think, came to a total of just under $300 million, and they were able to recover reportedly somewhere around $90 million, $90 million from insurance settlements because of all the production delays because of COVID. Now, of course, this isn't going to have the same type of, you're not going to get insurance coverage for this movie because of COVID, right? This was shot after. Some of this may have been shot, some of the footage may have been shot during the filming of the previous one because it was supposed to be part 1, part 2. Some of these things may have been done at the same time, kind of like Avengers: Infinity War and Endgame. We've been talking about those a lot. When we've been discussing the upcoming Doomsday film next year, those two movies cost $1.3 billion collectively under the same production entity that was in the UK. They filmed a lot of stuff around the same time for those two movies. Obviously, I don't know how much of that happened here. So we're talking about potentially $450 million of total spend. That's a $900 million box office is what you need to cover that expense. However, one thing I will say that these Tom Cruise movies tend to do well with is that they do engender a pretty robust audience of people that want to pick it up. The fans want to pick it up on PVOD, on physical media, And it seems like they tend to do it at pretty well above average rates. Disney films, you think of Marvel, you think of Snow White even. Yikes, I'm sorry about that. Think of Little Mermaid. Think of anything that Disney puts out. It's mostly a kid's audience, and parents tend to wait the extra 2 or 3 weeks for it to just plop out on Disney Plus. These movies like Mission Impossible, remember Top Gun Maverick, they gave it it was a couple of months before it came out on PVOD, and then they waited an additional 4 to 5 weeks before the physical media released. Paramount really knows and respects traditional theatrical windowing. And that's going to work tremendously in their favor. That means they're going to get probably paid out a higher or a decently higher percentage than a lot of movies out there, especially the ones that go, say, 30 days or 2 weeks or 45 days. If they allow this film a 90 to a 120-day window before it sees PVOD, depending on what Paramount has worked out. Remember how vociferous Tom Cruise was when it came to making sure that there was a 120-day window for Maverick, right? I think we potentially see the same thing here, maybe 90 days. But the fact of the matter is that they have the potential for reaping a little bit more from the box office than some of their competitors, number one. Number two, like I said, the PVOD, the physical media sales, and the fact that go Google right now where you can go watch as part of a streaming service the Mission Impossible movies. Yes, most of them are probably residing on Paramount Plus, but over the last several years, I've seen them everywhere. They farmed them out. In other words, they licensed them out for cash money to other streamers out there. I think they were on Amazon at one point. I think maybe Netflix had a few of them at one point. I've seen them on other streaming services. Paramount and Skydance, in this case, are receiving a fee for that. So unlike a company that consumes all of their own product immediately and in perpetuity, like Walt Disney does with Disney Plus, there's actually still good money to potentially be made on films like this from studios that don't use the Disney model. Paramount is one of those, especially with properties like this that are not in-house Paramount productions per se. Paramount, again, is the distributor here. Just like Maverick, this is Tom Cruise, this is Skydance. It's kind of like the same kind of deal you see with Universal and Blumhouse with Five Nights at Freddy's and whatnot, right? So they sign a distribution deal. It's like Avatar with Disney. That's a distribution deal. Paramount probably has some equity skin in the game as well as being a financier for the production. That's a little bit different than, say, a Disney that owns Marvel or owns Star Wars or owns Lilo and Stitch, also coming out this weekend. So this movie's got a high hurdle. And look, if it bombs in theaters, we're going to call it out for what it is. I mean, the last movie was disappointing for what it did. That was rough. Considering what they got back from the insurance company, and you take that into account, the losses could have been $90 million worse than they were had they not gotten that reported insurance settlement. But apparently they're plodding through. They're going to finish this thing out, and they feel like, let's see what happens. Let's hope this budget is a little overinflated. Let's hope that it's gross, right? Let's hope that it's $350 million minus film tax credits. That'd be great. Or at least not great, but it'd be a hell of a lot better if their net cost comes down to closer to $300 million or even under. I'll have to look at. Hopefully by Sunday, we'll have a little bit more detail because we'll see some more interviews coming out, some more news reports coming out between now and then. For right now, that's what we've got to work with. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.